practice. You hear that weak inner voice say, I don't feel like it. And you don't just ignore it. You immediately replace it with a firm command. Act regardless of feeling. Notice how these commands aren't about lying to yourself. It's not, this is easy. It's, this is hard, and I will take the first step anyway. That little switch changes everything. And this is the magic of just doing it over and over again. Look at this journey. Day 1, yeah, it's going to feel awful. It's forced, unnatural, but you stick with it. Around day 30, it starts becoming a routine. The fight gets easier.
Bed in that moment is probably the most comfortable place in the known universe. It is warm, it is safe, and it feels heavy.
It's like gravity triples just in your bedroom.
Exactly. And instantly, before you have even opened your eyes, before you even remember what day of the week it is, a negotiation begins.
Ah, the morning negotiation. I think the most universal human struggle. It's that split second where your brain immediately convenes a full board meeting to discuss why exactly we do not need to get up right now.
It is amazing how persuasive we become in that semi-conscious state. The arguments are surprisingly logical.
They're brilliant. They could win a court case.
Right. I worked really hard yesterday, so I deserve this. Or, I think I feel a scratch in my throat. I should probably rest to prevent illness. That's a classic.
A very responsible sounding excuse. My favorite is, well, if I sleep for 10 more minutes, I can just skip making coffee and grab one on the way and I'll still be on time.
You've rationalized it perfectly.
It feels logical, it feels airtight, but it's actually a trap. And that specific moment, that debate between what you know you should do and what you feel like doing, that's the battleground.
The battleground.
It sounds dramatic to say it like that, but I really believe that is where the war for your potential is won or lost, in those first 5 seconds of the day.
And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We have a stack of sources here focused on a very specific, and I have to say a somewhat aggressive guide titled, How to Force Yourself to Be Disciplined.
I love that title. No messing around.
No, not at all. And I want to lean on that word, force. Because usually when we talk about self-improvement or productivity, it's all about flow and habit stacking and, making things easy or frictionless.
Right, the path of least resistance.
We all want the hack that makes work feel like play. But this source material is taking a much different, much more aggressive angle. It's saying, stop waiting for it to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
It's a harsh, but I think a liberating truth. The core premise we're exploring today is that discipline is not a personality trait. It's not some kind of genetic gift.
You're not born with it.
No, you aren't born with a discipline gene that other people lack. Discipline, according to this guide, is an act of force. And it argues that waiting for motivation, waiting until you feel like doing the work, is essentially a strategy for failure.
The source material is just filled with these punchy, almost like wake-up call moments. One of them that stood out to me immediately was this line, if you wait until you feel ready, you will wait forever.
Wow.
That's terrifying when you think about it, because I feel like I've spent half my life waiting for the vibe to be right to start a big project.
We all do. I mean, it's human nature. We treat motivation like it's a prerequisite for action. Like we need to check the fuel gauge, and if the motivation tank is empty, well, I guess we can't drive the car today.
Can't go anywhere.
But this deep dive is about flipping that logic entirely on its head. Motivation is fleeting. It's an emotion. The source calls it weather.
Weather, like that.
It changes based on how much sleep you got, what you ate, whether the sun is shining. It's completely unreliable. Discipline, according to this guide, is a decision. It's a choice made every single day, and it matters most precisely when the weather is bad.
So here is our mission for this deep dive. We are going to try to dismantle this whole idea of negotiating with yourself.
Shutting down the debate.
Exactly. We're going to give you a toolkit, actual practical tools from the source for overriding that part of your brain that screams for comfort. And we're going to explain why forcing yourself, which sounds so negative, so punishing, is actually described in our sources as the highest form of self-respect.
I love that distinction. It's about moving from being a victim of your impulses to being the commander of your own life. It's a huge shift in identity.
It really is. So let's get into it. Section 1, the art of non-negotiation. The source material starts by defining the enemy. And simply put, the enemy is laziness. But it's not just the guy sleeping on the couch, is it?
No, and I think this is where people really get tripped up. The source describes laziness as a shapeshifter. We have this cartoon image of laziness, a person drooling on a pillow watching cartoons at 2
Well,
p.m.
total slob, yeah.
But real-world laziness is much more sophisticated than that. It disguises itself. It wears a suit and tie sometimes.
How so? Give us an example of this disguised laziness. I'm fascinated by this concept.
Well, a perfect example is what the source calls busy work. Let's say you have a massive presentation to build for work. It's scary, it's ambiguous, it requires deep, focused thought.
The kind of work you dread starting.
Exactly. So instead of starting, you spend 2 hours meticulously organizing your email folders or cleaning every icon off your computer's desktop.
Oh, the productive procrastination. I know it well. I can't possibly write this report until my kitchen is spotless.
That's the one. And you tell yourself, I'm being productive. Look at me. I'm getting organized. You feel good about it? You feel like you're working?
But you're lying to yourself.
The source calls that a lie. It's a disguise. It fools you into believing you are doing enough, when really you are avoiding what is difficult. And the text makes a very bold claim here. It says, progress is always found in what is difficult.
Wow. Okay.
So if you are doing easy things, even if you're sweating, even if you're ticking boxes on a to-do list, you might still be succumbing to laziness. You're just doing the easy work to avoid the hard work.
That brings us to what the source calls the negotiation table. It paints this really vivid picture of the moment you wake up or face a hard task. Laziness immediately pulls up a chair across from you and opens a negotiation.
And the rule from the text is incredibly simple. Do not sit down. Don't even acknowledge the invitation.
Just walk away from the table.
If you negotiate even once, laziness wins the argument every time. You have to understand the power dynamic here. Laziness is a master debater. It has a PhD in excuses. It has a counter-argument for everything.
It knows all your weaknesses.
It never runs out of reasons why you should delay. If you engage with the thought, just 5 more minutes won't hurt, you've already lost. Not because the 5 minutes, but because you've legitimized the option of delay. You've agreed that delay is on the table.
So the strategy isn't to win the argument, it's to refuse to have the argument in the first place.
Precisely. You are training your mind. The source uses the analogy of training a dog. Think of your brain, or at least that impulsive part of your brain, like a dog you were training.
Okay.
Every time you turn your back on discipline, every time you negotiate and say, okay, you're right, we'll skip the gym today, you are giving the dog a treat for bad behavior.
You're reinforcing the negative pattern.
You are strengthening the neural pathway that says, when things get hard, we quit. And then when life actually demands focus, when you're in a real crisis, you've already conditioned yourself to fold. You've practiced quitting thousands of times.
That's a scary thought. Practice quitting. There's another phrase in the text that stood out to me related to this. It's called the danger of tomorrow.
Ah, yes, the magical land where all our problems are solved.
Right. We always tell ourselves, I'll do it tomorrow. It feels like a promise, doesn't it? It even feels responsible. I'm too tired to do a good job today, so I'll do a great job tomorrow.
It feels like a promise, but the source says it's a lie. A fundamental lie we tell ourselves. And it's a lie because of a deep misunderstanding of time and of who we are.
What's a misunderstanding?
We think future me is going to be this completely different person, this energized, motivated superhero. Current me is tired and grumpy and wants to watch Netflix, but future me will love waking up at 5 a.m.
Future me eats only kale and loves filling out spreadsheets and never gets distracted.
Exactly. We have this idealized version of our future self. But the source just drops this reality bomb on us. Tomorrow usually looks exactly like today because you are the same person with the same habits and the same brain.
So if you can't do it today when you're tired and unmotivated, why on earth do you think you'll do it tomorrow when you'll likely be just as tired and unmotivated?
That's the reality check. It's a fantasy. And it gets even deeper. The text calls this act of pushing things off signing a contract with weakness.
A contract with weakness. That is such a visceral image. It's not just procrastinating, it's a formal agreement.
It is. The author is being very deliberate with that language. Every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you are mentally picking up a pen and signing a contract that says, I'm okay with being less than I can be.
And then you just keep renewing that contract day after day.
You're effectively legally binding yourself to mediocrity. And you do it with a smile, thinking you're being smart about it.
It really frames procrastination not as a time management issue, which is how it's usually presented, but as a character issue. It's an integrity issue with yourself.
It is. It's about keeping your word to the most important person in your life, you. And the goal, as the author puts it, is to refuse to sign. You have to look laziness in the eye, whether it looks like a warm bed or a pile of busy work, and just say, no, no deal.
Okay, so we've established that we shouldn't negotiate. We should walk away from the table. But how do we actually do that? Because, I mean, my brain is fast. That negotiation starts before I'm even fully conscious.
Right, the excuses are automatic.
So this brings us to section 2, the mechanics of immediate action. This is where we get tactical.
This is the practical side, yes.
Yeah.
The theory is great, but you need an operating manual. And the source introduces a brilliant, simple technique called the 3-second rule, or as some call it, the 3-2-1 move.
I love simple rules like this. They're easy to remember in the moment. Break it down for us.
The technique is almost deceptively simple. When a necessary thought enters your mind, like, I should drink a glass of water, or I should write that difficult email, or the big one, I should get out of bed, you immediately start a countdown in your head.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. And on move or on 0, you physically move. You don't think, you don't evaluate, you just move your body in the direction of the task.
Why the countdown? Why not just tell yourself, do it? What's the magic in the numbers?
Because of the brain's incredible speed. The source explains that the human brain is an excuse-generating machine. It's what it does to conserve energy and avoid discomfort. Within seconds of a thought like, I should go for a run, your brain creates a whole PowerPoint presentation of arguments against it.
It's a little bit cloudy. My knees hurt from last week. I don't have time to shower afterwards. I'll do it later this afternoon.
Exactly, a flood of rationalizations. So the countdown is basically a race. You're trying to launch the rocket before mission control can abort the mission.
It's an interruption pattern. You act before the excuses can fully form and take hold.
You are trying to outrun your own rationalizations. The goal, and this is key, is to train a reflex, not to make a decision. If you treat getting out of bed as a decision, you are giving yourself a 50-50 chance of saying no. You might decide to stay in bed.
And your brain in that state is an excellent lawyer for the stay in bed side.
The best. But if you treat it as a reflex, the alarm goes off, you count 3, 2, 1, your feet hit the floor, you bypass the entire decision-making process. The debate never happens.
It's like hacking your own operating system. You're preventing the laziness software from loading.
Precisely. And the source really emphasizes starting ridiculously small. This isn't just for massive life goals like starting a business. It's for everything. The alarm rings. 3, 2, 1. Stand up. You think, I'm thirsty. 3, 2, 1. Walk to the kitchen. You think of sending that one text you've been putting off. 3, 2, 1. Pick up the phone.
And this is about more than just hydration or punctuality, isn't it? The text mentions a ripple effect. These tiny actions have a bigger purpose.
A much bigger purpose. These small victories are not really about the task itself. They're about forging your identity. The source argues that every time you act instantly, you are casting a vote for a new identity.
A vote for I am a person who acts.
Exactly. You're building a mountain of evidence that you are the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do.
I love that. You're building evidence for your own case.
You're building trust. That's the key word the author uses over and over. Trust. Every time you say you'll do something and then you hesitate or delay, you teach yourself that your own word doesn't matter. You break a promise to yourself.
Which erodes your self-confidence over time.
Massively. Hesitation creates doubt. Action creates confidence. But every time you act instantly, every time you use that 3, 2, 1 rule and follow through, you learn to trust your own direction. You build self-integrity.
So if I use the 3, 2, 1 rule to simply wash a single dish the moment I see it in the sink, I'm actually training the exact same mental muscle I need to launch a business or run a marathon.
Exactly the same. It's the same neural pathway. You are training what the source calls a bias for action. You're making action your default setting instead of hesitation.
Okay, so we're moving our bodies, we're training that reflex. But what about the noise? What's happening inside our heads? That brings us to section 3, which is called mental dominion controlling the narrative.
Right, because the physical and the mental are two sides of the same coin. You can't just fix one.
And the source uses this great metaphor here of thoughts as visitors.
I think this is one of the most helpful visualizations in the entire guide. It says to treat your thoughts like visitors knocking on the door of your mind. Just because someone knocks, that doesn't mean you have to open the door and let them in.
Right. If a visitor showed up at your house and started insulting you and trashing the place, you'd kick them out immediately.
You'd call the police.
But we let negative thoughts in, and we let them crash on the couch for weeks. We give them a key.
We do. We live on autopilot. The source says most people accept every negative thought, I can't do this, I'm too tired, I'll fail, as a fact. We treat them as if they are absolute, undeniable truths delivered from on high,
Instead of just noise.
instead of just random electrical signals in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
So the fix begins with awareness. You have to become the bouncer at the door of your own mind. You have to stand there and, when a thought knocks, ask, who are you? Are you here to help or to hurt? Is this thought leading me forward or holding me back?
But the text goes a step further, which I found really interesting. It says, you can't just kick the visitor out and leave the house empty. You have to replace them. This is what it calls replacement therapy.
Correct. The mind abhors a vacuum. It's a fundamental principle. You cannot just remove a thought. You must replace it with another one. If you just try to stop thinking about how tired you are, you'll probably just think about it more.
Like trying not to think of a pink elephant.
Exactly. So you have to consciously and deliberately swap it.
So if my brain serves up the thought, I don't feel like starting this project, what's the replacement thought? What script do I use?
The source gives a specific actionable script. You replace I don't feel like starting with I will begin now, because starting creates momentum. It's not about feeling, it's about physics. An object in motion stays in motion.
And if the thought is, I can't do this,
You replace it with I may struggle, but I can learn, or this is difficult and that's why it's worth doing. You're changing the frame from a statement of fact to a challenge to be overcome.
so it's not just cheesy positive thinking. It's not, I am a beautiful unicorn. It's constructive thinking. It's functional.
It's functional thinking. It's reprogramming. And this leads directly into the tone of your internal monologue. The source draws a really sharp distinction between being a critic and being a commander.
I think most of us have a very loud, very permanent critic living in our heads.
Oh, for sure. The critic is our default setting. The critic's job is to tear you down. You're not good enough. You mess that up again. Why even bother?
So what does the commander sound like? How is it different?
The commander gives orders. The shift is in the language. The source warns us against using vague, wishy-washy language with ourselves. Things like, maybe I should, or I hope I can, or I'll try to.
That language creates hesitation, it says.
It creates an exit. It gives you an out before you've even started. The commander, on the other hand, speaks in clear commands. Do it now. Stand up. Focus. Finish this page. It's direct. It's unambiguous.
It sounds kind of harsh, though, like you're bullying yourself.
And the source makes a very important point here to address that. This isn't about being mean to yourself. It's not about cruelty. It's about clarity and honesty.
There's a quote that I wrote down. Rest is earned, not given.
That's the one. That's the commander's philosophy. It's treating yourself like a high-performance athlete under a strict coach. A strict coach isn't abusive. They're demanding because they know what you are capable of, even when you don't.
So if you coddle yourself, if you're always soft on yourself,
You are fundamentally disrespecting your own potential. You're saying, I don't believe you're capable of more.
that's a huge reframe. Forcing yourself isn't self-punishment. It's the highest form of self-respect. You respect your future self enough to do the hard work now.
Precisely. You're honoring the person you could become.
Now let's talk about what happens when we actually start trying to do all this. Because day one, you're fired up. You've listened to this. You're ready to go. Day two is okay. But then reality hits. The discomfort sets in.
Ah, yes. Section 4, rewiring the brain through repetition.
The source identifies this as the middle stage trap. And this, it claims, is where the vast majority of people quit.
It's the valley of despair. It's that point where the new behavior, getting up early, going to the gym, writing every day, still feels unnatural, right? There's foreign and deeply uncomfortable.
It feels like you're wearing someone else's shoes.
Perfect analogy. And our natural instinct is to interpret that discomfort as a sign that this isn't for me, or I'm not cut out for this, or something is wrong. But the source flips that script entirely. It argues that the discomfort is a signal that the brain is adjusting. The discomfort is the feeling of change. It's not a sign of failure. It's a sign that it's working.
It's actually really comforting to hear. Feeling weird or resistant means you're on the right track.
It means you are physically rewiring neural pathways. The text uses the image of carving grooves in the mind, like water carving a canyon. The first time the water flows, it's messy and there's a lot of resistance. But the more it flows, the deeper the groove gets.
And the only way to carve that groove is through repetition.
The only way. You have to force the repetition until the brain surrenders.
Until the brain surrenders. I like that. It sounds like a battle of wills between your conscious mind and your sort of primitive biology.
It is a battle of wills. And in this battle, the source really emphasizes consistency over intensity. This is a common mistake we all make.
The New Year's resolution effect.
Exactly. We try to be a hero for one day. We go to the gym for 3 hours. We read 100 pages. We clean the entire house. And then we do nothing for a week because we're exhausted.
The burst and bust cycle.
Right. And the source says reading 2 pages of a book every single day is infinitely more powerful for building the habit of discipline than reading 100 pages once a month.
Because discipline is about the rhythm, not the volume. It's about showing up no matter what.
It's about earning that little check mark in your brain every single day. And eventually, after enough reps, something magical happens. The text talks about an identity shift.
This is the end goal, right?
This is the holy grail of discipline. Eventually, the behavior moves from being something I do to being who I am. At first, you're carrying the habit, and it's heavy. You have to use willpower to lug it around.
But after enough repetition,
The habit starts to carry you. It becomes your default setting. The groove is so deep that it's easier to stay in it than to climb out.
I felt that was something simple like brushing my teeth. I don't need discipline to brush my teeth. I just do it. It's part of who I am. I'm a person with clean teeth.
Exactly.
The goal is to get exercise or focused work to that same automatic level.
Exactly. You don't negotiate with your toothbrush. You don't have a debate about it. That's where we want to get with our most important goals.
Okay, let's raise the stakes a bit. This has all been very internal. Section 5 is weaponizing pressure and pain. This sounds intense, but the logic in the source is undeniable. It starts with a simple premise. Comfort is the enemy.
Comfort is so seductive. It whispers that you can delay, that you're safe, that you've done enough for today. But the source argues that comfort leads to stagnation, to decay.
So to defeat it, you can't just wait for a crisis to force you into action. You have to create internal pressure.
You have to manufacture a crisis, in a way, a controlled crisis.
How do you do that without just stressing yourself out?
Well, you're manufacturing urgency, not anxiety. This source suggests a few practical ways to do this. First, artificial deadlines. Shorten your timeline to force focus. If a project is due in a week, tell yourself it's due in 2 days.
That panic monster from the procrastination articles, it's a great motivator.
It is a phenomenal motivator. Another powerful tool is accountability. Tell people your goals. The text says we need to feel the weight of social expectation. If you keep your goals a secret, it's very easy to let them slide. No one knows you failed.
But if you post on social media, I'm running a 5K in 6 weeks, or you tell your partner, or you join a group.
Suddenly you have skin in the game. You don't want to look like a fool. You don't want to let people down. It's external leverage on your internal weakness.
And speaking of skin in the game, the source mentions financial pressure, putting actual money on the line.
Yes. Pay for the class up front, buy the expensive running shoes, hire the coach. The text argues that when you pay attention. If a webinar is free, you'll sign up and never watch it. If it costs you $500, you'll be there with a notebook 10 minutes early.
You value what you invest in.
Exactly. Now, this next part was really profound to me, a little counterintuitive. It's about visualizing the long pain.
Right, because we're usually told to visualize success, picture the trophy, imagine yourself on the beach with a six-pack.
The vision board approach.
But this source says, do the opposite. Visualize the regret.
This is a powerful countermove to impulse. Your impulses, your lazy brain, it sells you on immediate pleasure. Eating the junk food, skipping the gym, watching another episode, that is the short joy.
So the countermove is to visualize the consequence.
Not just the lack of progress, but the specific visceral pain of regret. The long pain.
The long pain.
The long pain of wasted potential. The pain of poor health when you're older. The pain of looking back in 10 years and realizing you stayed in the exact same place because you always chose comfort. The argument is, you must consciously choose the short pain of discipline. The burn in the gym, the frustration of the blank page, the cold morning over the long pain of regret.
It's a trade. You're going to experience pain either way. Discipline hurts now, regret hurts forever. You're just choosing which one you want.
And you have to make that trade conscious in the moment of temptation. The source suggests creating a pause. When the urge to quit or procrastinate hits, just stop for 5 seconds. Create a gap between the urge and the action.
And in that gap,
You remind yourself of the future cost. You ask yourself the question, do I want the pain of discipline or the pain of regret?
that's a question that stops you in your tracks. It's not about do I feel like it, it's which pain do I choose?
A completely different question.
Okay, section 6, energy management and focus. We've talked about force and pressure, but that can lead to burnout if you're not smart. We also need to manage our resources.
Absolutely. Force without direction is just chaos. The source starts this section by dismantling the myth of time. We all say it, I don't have time. The source bluntly states that's nonsense. Everyone has 24 hours. The difference isn't time, it's response and energy direction.
So it's not about having more time, it's about how we use the time we have. Where are we leaking energy?
Everywhere. Trivial things. The source calls it an energy leak. We scatter our focus and energy on things that give us a quick hit of dopamine but don't move us forward. Mindless scrolling, office gossip, busy work, checking email every 3 minutes.
So what's the fix? How do we plug the leaks?
The guide recommends the top 3 strategy. Before your day gets hijacked, before you open your inbox, you identify the top 1 to 3 tasks that will actually move the needle on your most important goals. And you do them first.
Eat the frog.
Eat the frog. Do the hard, important thing first. This requires ruthless boundaries, though.
It requires you to say no a lot.
You have to say no to obligations that drain you without a return on your energy.
Yeah.
And you have to identify what the source calls false productivity. Stop organizing the files and start writing the actual document. Stop endlessly researching and start building. You have to constantly ask yourself, is this action moving me forward? If the answer is no, you cut it ruthlessly.
The text also mentions peak energy, this idea of knowing when you're sharpest.
Right. This is critical. We're not machines. Our energy fluctuates. If you are a morning person and your mind is sharpest from 8 to 10 a.m., do not waste that time answering meaningless emails or sitting in a pointless meeting.
That's your prime currency. That's your golden time.
You spend it on your hardest, most important task. You protect that time fiercely. You treat it like it's the most valuable asset you own, because it is.
It's like personal finance, but for your energy. It's budgeting. You wouldn't spend your entire paycheck on gum. Don't spend your peak mental energy on scrolling through social media.
That's a perfect way to put it.
This all brings us to the final part, Section 7. Mental toughness effort over relief. This feels like the philosophical core of the entire deep dive. It boils everything down to a single choice.
It does. The source says that life at every moment is constantly offering you 2 doors. The door of effort or the door of relief.
And the door of relief is always more attractive.
Always. Relief feels good now. It's the snooze button, the cookie, the TV show, but it leaves you empty later. The door of effort feels heavy now. It's difficult to push open. But on the other side, it builds pride, skill, and what the source calls a legacy.
So the source asks us to completely reframe how we see effort, to stop seeing it as a punishment.
This is critical. Many of us have this internal monologue that says, ugh, why is this so hard? It shouldn't be this hard. We see effort as a tax on our life. The source says you have to see it as training. Every uncomfortable moment is a repetition for your resilience muscle.
It's the soldier-athlete mindset.
Yes. A soldier doesn't go on a 20-mile march because it's fun. They do it so they are ready when it counts. When you choose effort, when you push through resistance, you are proving something vital to yourself.
That you're not a quitter.
That you're strong. That you can be trusted. The source says you lose respect for yourself when you constantly choose relief. You earn it back piece by piece every time you choose effort.
And this brings us full circle back to the motivation myth we started with. The source has a final, powerful line on this. Motivation is a bonus, not a requirement.
This is the mantra to write on your mirror. Action creates energy. It's not the other way around. You don't act because you are motivated. You become motivated because you acted.
I felt that a million times. I drag myself to the gym feeling exhausted and grumpy, but 10 minutes into the workout, I feel great. The motion created the emotion.
Exactly. The initial activation energy is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Once you're moving, motivation often shows up to the party, but it never shows up before you start. So the source calls for conditioning. Make action non-negotiable.
Like the soldier you mentioned. A soldier doesn't wake up and decide if they feel like training today.
They just do it. It's on the schedule. It's who they are.
I act regardless of mood. That's a powerful identity statement. It takes all the power away from your fleeting feelings and puts it back in your hands.
It does. It makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Because if you don't need to feel good to do good work, you are genuinely unstoppable. Nothing can derail you.
So let's try to summarize this. We've covered a lot of ground here. The 3-second rule, the contract with weakness, the long pain of regret, the commander mindset.
It's a comprehensive user's manual for the mind. But if we had to boil the philosophy down to its essence, it's this. Discipline is the act of forcing repetition until the unnatural becomes natural.
It is replacing I can't with I will.
And ultimately, it is choosing the short, productive pain of effort over the long, corrosive pain of regret.
For the listener right now who might be feeling a mix of inspired and maybe a little intimidated by all this, what's the final challenge from the source? What's the one thing they should do?
The challenge is to pick one small thing today, not tomorrow today. Right now, maybe it's doing one push-up, maybe it's sending that one email. When the impulse to delay hits you, and it will hit you in the next hour, use the 3-2-1 rule.
Countdown. 3, 2, 1, and move.
Just move. Don't wait for the perfect feeling. Don't wait for motivation to strike you like lightning. The source is clear. It's never coming. You have to go first.
And here's a provocative thought to leave you with, straight from the source material, to really let that sink in. There is a version of you that is capable, strong, and free. But that version of you is waiting on the other side of the comfort you are clinging to right now. The only way to meet that person is to stop negotiating and start moving. Do it now.
Do it now.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.